Let's review the business use case for our next activity. A process continually checks if a given account record exists in a company's data storage system to determine whether to perform a create or update call. The process retrieves an account's internal system ID from Salesforce using a connector call output parameter as a dynamic document property, and then creates a new account or updates an existing account based on the routing logic in the process. To complete the process, we will add a connector call in the setProperties shape to query an account's internal ID. We'll configure the decision logic to determine if an account's internal ID is populated in Salesforce. Then we'll configure the create and update maps, and we'll run a test and observe the results. Now, this process is only a test, so we will not actually create new or update accounts in an endpoint data storage system. You'll see here that both the true and the false paths lead to stop shapes, not to connectors. So this activity is intended only to demonstrate how to configure and retrieve dynamic document properties using a connector call. Let me demonstrate our activity and then you can complete it. This is on pages 45 to 51 of the activity guide. I'll begin by creating a new folder in Developer 1 named Dynamic Document Properties. Now browsing the process library to bring in Dynamic Document Properties activity, I'll click Install and then choose the folder that I just created. Click Install again, and then view the process. I'm going to start by configuring the setProperties shape. Once again, we're starting with a no data start shape. That means the process will not receive any data from outside Atomsphere, but that empty document will be populated with this data in our message shape. The data process shape will split the documents by line so that each document can be processed individually. Now I'm going to configure the setProperties shape. So in the property type window, I'm going to select Dynamic Document Property, and I'm going to enter the property name of ID. Now, to that property, I'll highlight it, and I'm going to assign a value here. For the type, I'm going to choose Connector Call. The connector is Salesforce. The action will be Get. The connection is already in the training account, so I'll select Boomi Training Salesforce, but I need to create a new operation. I'm going to name this operation Account Query by Name. And to create the response profile, I'm going to perform an import. So I'll click Import using the Boomi Training Salesforce connection. For the object type, I want to select account underscore C. Click Next. Now, I don't need to select any child or parent objects, so I'll click Next. The response profile has been created, and I'll click Finish. Now, the only field we want to retrieve is the account's ID. So under the Fields tab, I'm going to check and then uncheck the Select All box, and then select only ID. To that, I'm going to apply a filter. The filter name equal to, and for the field, I'm going to select name. Click OK, and I'll leave the operator at equal to. The Salesforce operation is complete, so I'll click Save and Close to come back to the connector call window. Now for the output parameter, this will be the ID, so I'll select that. And for the input parameter, this is where I'll assign that value to the filter that we set. So the name will be equal to the profile element. It's a flat file profile. With the one element here in sample data of name. All right, so the connector call is configured. I'll click OK, and that will set the dynamic document property of the account's ID. So click OK, and next I'm going to configure the decision shape. This will determine whether we create a new account record or update an existing account record. For the first value, this will be a document property. I'm going to choose dynamic document property and then enter the property name exactly as it was entered before of ID. I don't need to enter a default value, so I'll click OK and OK again. Now for the comparison type, we'll leave that set to equal to, and the second value will be a static value, but it can be null. I'm not going to enter anything here, so I'll leave that as null and click OK. Next, I'm going to configure the account create and account update maps. So I'll open account create. And I want to map from the source profile name to the destination profile element name. Again, in this activity, it's only a test trying to illustrate the functionality of the connector call setting that dynamic document property. So we're just creating the account with one field here of name. I'll click Save and Close. Now let me update the other map, Account Update. First, I'm going to map name to name. And having retrieved an account ID with the connector call, I want to update that value in the endpoint storage system. So I'm going to add a function here in our map. For the category, I'll choose Properties. I'm going to select Get Document Property, and then click OK. So for the property type, this will be a dynamic document property, entering the property name as set before of ID. Click OK, and then OK again. And now I can map this document property to the destination element of ID. I'll click Save and Close, save the process, and let me run a test. If I click on the true paths stop shape and look at the shape source data, we'll see that a new account has been created, Dell Boomi, and in the false path, two accounts have been updated. So here is Edge Communications internal ID retrieved from Salesforce with the connector call and set as a dynamic document property, and Gene Point for the other account that has been updated. All right, now it's your turn to complete the dynamic document properties activity on pages 45 to 51 of the activity guide.